All right, ladies and gentlemen, my subscribers and my followers, I just want to welcome you now to my next program, Katotohanan. Kalaban ay kasinungalingan. I am Engineer Toto, who, according to my idol, Epifanio Labrador, is Calvo. But according to my mother, I'm handsome. And according to my wife, I'm Vin Diesel vlogger of the Philippines. So, but anyway, uh, our topic for today is the dreaded cases versus Pastor Quiboloy and about the compromise. Lahat po kayo na nakikinig, pasensya na kung medyo mag-English ako kasi because YouTube called me last week and they were requesting that I should also deliver some live streaming in English because he was the YouTube representative who talked to me was so certain that there are so many people who would like to know about the Philippines, and the only way for the whole world to look at the mirror of the Philippines is for me to speak in the language almost everybody knows in the world. So here it is. I just want to greet good afternoon to my very old good friend Antonio Figueroa. Tony, kamusta ka diha sa Davao City? Si Emilda Talaugon, Roberto Carlos, and then this is actually a very important guy insofar as the Philippine politics is concerned that has developed since the time of 10 years before up to now. This guy, this Mr. Quiboloy, is actually a kingmaker. If I should say, he was the one who made Duterte. And it is because of him that he's so aggressiveness. See, he's so aggressive about supporting people that he wants to support, and he is so vocal. Even even if we all know that all what he said was all lies. Okay, and now Tagalog sa hearing kahapon o isang araw, it turned out that he was not only lying on his television or radio station, which is flagship by what we call as Sunshine, how do you call it? Media News Incorporated. So now we discovered that even if all the papers, his incorporation papers as a sole corporation in the Securities and Exchange Commission, these were all, it appears to be falsified. One of the congressmen or congresswomen rather in the House of Representatives in the name of Congresswoman Migs Nograles, who is supposed to be an ally of Quiboloy because I know this Congresswoman Mig Nograles is from Davao City. She was the one who even pointed out the discrepancies o yung pagkakaiba between the SEC papers submitted to the House of Congress, to the House of Representatives, and the papers being held or submitted to the Securities and Exchange Commission. And even the guest coming from the Securities and Exchange Commission, a lawyer, confirmed that what he was holding as a SEC paper for SMNI and other companies belonging to the mother company of SMNI were different in terms of percentages of ownership in comparison to the papers of incorporation or articles of incorporation being held by the Congress. So with that, you can now conclude that from the start, these SMNI stations are really founded on lies from the very beginning. And from these lies, that I just do not know what kind of cult, but I do believe that they are in the Duterte cult. They just propagated lies if only to suit their whims and caprices. For example, they came up with a program called Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa. And then they put in Duterte on the Jackie stable. And with that, he actually gave Duterte that big platform in order for Duterte to speak. And whenever Duterte speaks, he speaks with volumes. So many millions of Filipinos are believing in him. So with that kind of statements coming from the president, who actually had that capacity and audacity to lie, he would even always say that International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction over the Philippines, when in truth and in fact, the otherwise is the truth. So what is true is this. The International Criminal Court, insofar as the crimes being leveled against Duterte, his daughter Sara, his colleagues Bato de la Rosa and Bongo, who are both senators, and even the Secretary of the Department of Justice, Vitaliano Aguirre, and the subsequent one, named Minardo Guevara, are actually being eyed as part of those persons being investigated by the International Criminal Court. So he would say that there was no jurisdiction on the part of the International Criminal Court over the Philippines. But that is not true, as I said before. So what is true is this. I will just repeat. The Philippines joined the International Criminal Court by signing what we call as Rome Statute. By the way, if you say Rome Statute, we are actually referring to laws. Or you could call it in some other way, Rome law or Rome code. But a code and a law, if you call one law as code, it means to say that it's too plenty of laws inside of it, and it is too many for you to just say it is just a law. Like, for example, the Civil Code of the Philippines. It has more than 2,000 articles. The Revised Penal Code, it has 366 articles. So that is the difference between the code and the law in terms of the content of the laws. If you call one as code, it contains so many laws in it. So here, when Philippines signed membership with the Rome Statute or International Criminal Court, it became effective on November 1, 2011. And since that time, we became a member. And it was ratified by the Senate. And one of those who voted for the ratification or consenting for it to become a part of the law of the land was then Senator Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. So if that is so, now came the time of Duterte. Duterte, in the heat of the exchanges of communications or heated arguments between him and ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda, Duterte uttered that if you will keep on investigating me, I will now sign a notice for the Philippines to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. It was only a threat in the beginning, but later, when Duterte saw that it was already serious, and when Fatou Bensouda announced that she was already beginning that investigation for the purpose of what she called as preliminary examination. So, and in February of 2018, Bensouda again announced that she will be submitting a request to the ICC pretrial chamber for the ICC Office of the Prosecutor to be authorized to conduct investigation. And with that, without wasting time, Mr. Duterte signed the notice addressed to the Secretary General of the United States, not United Nations, and then it was received on 17 of March 2018. So when it was received under Article 127 of the Rome Statute that created the International Criminal Court, the effectivity of the withdrawal shall be 1 year thereafter, or longer if the withdrawal states otherwise. So that the withdrawal became effective on March 17, 2019. So what does that mean? It only means that all those crimes of humanity, against humanity, that happened from November 1, 2011 up to March 16, 2019 became now the subject of the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. And Duterte is lying whenever he says that. And also, Attorney Salvador Panilo is lying also if he says that. In the same manner that Attorney Harry Roque and Attorney Juan Ponce Enrile are lying, including Minardo Guevara, including Secretary Boy Rimulya, if they would be saying that International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction over the persons being investigated. Because the reason is, these persons who are being investigated by the International Criminal Court are the persons being pointed at by the results of the investigation or the evidence gathered therefrom as the very persons who perpetrated those crimes. What are those crimes that are being referred to here? The crimes committed during the time when Rodrigo Duterte was still the mayor of Davao City. And also during the time when his daughter became a mayor from 2010 up to 2013. Because during the time of the mayorship of Sara Duterte, the daughter, there were also people who were killed in Davao City, as they call it, salvage. So that there are two kinds of cases that are being investigated by the International Criminal Court. The ones that happened in Davao City during the time when Sara and her father Rodrigo were the mayor of Davao City, and the other one is from July 1, 2016 up to March 16, 2019, when the last day for the Philippines to be subjected under International Criminal Court. So that it is a big lie, and they are using SMNI. And because of this, and Pastor Apollo Carion Quiboloy was also very, very supportive to Duterte, despite the fact that these are all lies, despite the fact that he has been claiming to be the Son of God, and despite the fact that he has been proclaiming to be a divine man, and yet he is supporting the dreaded man in the person of Rodrigo Rua Duterte. Now, let us now ask, why is it that a man who is supposed to be a man of divinity is supporting a man of demon? The reason is, this man who claims to be divine and who has claimed in many times in the past as having that power to stop anything, including the power of ABS-CBN that resulted in the removal or the non-renewal of the franchise of ABS-CBN, and and also the removal of Vice Ganda. uh, he was also a criminal. Actually, he is not as less worse or as more worse than Mr. Duterte. His own crimes, according to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, are which are being charged against him: child trafficking, trafficking of pastorals, or because these pastorals are actually minors. So he would bring these pastorals to the United States of America and to act as his, do you know what is it, as inner circle, or innermost circle members or pastorals, and whose duties include the giving up of your virginity to Mr. Apollo Carrion Quiboloy. And then if these pastorals are brought to the United States, they were all, according to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, submitted for the purpose of visa by means of defrauding the United States government in terms of the qualifications. So there were so many children, actually. Children, you could call them children, including Arlene Stone, who was very young then when she was brought to the US. She even admitted that she was raped by Apollo Quiboloy. So these children who were brought there in the United States were compelled to go around, look for donations, go inside restaurants, and then sell anything just for them to get the money and to give that to the to KOJC, Kingdom of Jesus Christ. So that was the, if I could say it in a short manner, he was Apollo Kibuloy was using these children, these young children, the minors rather, to to sell anything and then to line on the streets to ask for alms. So those were the activities that were made to be done by these children under the auspices of Apollo Kibuloy. So came a time when many of these children realized that what they were doing was actually not of divinity but a demonic word. So some of them got some power by their hearts, and they now went to the authorities in the United States. So that led to the investigation conducted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation rather, and then it resulted in the gathering of evidence showing that Apollo Kibuloy was also bringing his private jet to the US and then bringing back monies in terms of the last was 350,000 US dollars that was caught when he attempted to smuggle out of the US that big amount of money. And all those dollars actually were the ones that were solicited by the people, or by the women, or by the children he called pastorals. So that's it. Those are only some of his cases, but there are plenty. And you know what? After that investigation that was conducted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, this investigation evidence was submitted to the federal grand jury. And the federal grand jury, after examining the evidence and deliberating on the the witnesses and the evidences presented by the agents of FBI, voted voted for the filing of the case or indictment against Kibuloy and other persons. So if we say indictment, it is just like in the Philippines, the filing of a criminal information. So in the US, who actually decided to charge Kibuloy? The people who were members of the grand jury, and there were 25 of them. So these people were were the ones who were occupying the office at the time when the case came to them. And after 6 months, they are replaced by another group of people who will serve in the grand jury. I like that kind of system of justice that will determine who shall be charged in court to happen in the Philippines. That's why I am campaigning. I want to be a senator, and I want to propose that to be the same system here in the Philippines, wherein there would be grand jury, not fiscals anymore, but the grand jury who will decide a case against Bantag, against Teves, or against Leila de Lima if only the body that decided the case filed against Leila de Lima, then surely the body will dismiss the case right away. And they will not give any problem to people who do not deserve imprisonment or who do not deserve custody in the law because there were strong evidences against them. You know what? These members of the grand jury are actually the 25 people. They are ordinary people. They could be tricycle drivers here in the Philippines. They could be jeepney drivers. They could be farmers. They could be a teacher, teachers. They could be policemen. But in the system that we would be copied, that would be copied would be the one that is being done in the United States of America. There, it is prohibited for lawyers to become members of the grand jury because lawyers, as I was schooled, are tending to believe in the rules of evidence. So it is a big no-no for the person who have knowledge in the rules of evidence to serve in the jury because the jury of people actually represents the entire country. Whenever 25 of them would be selected, and their freshness in their minds, the virginity of their minds in the science of evidence justifies that all that they would be deciding for or against the person being accused or the person arrested by police officer is assured that there will be fairness. That's why I'm I'm moving for the creation of the grand jury body in each province or city in the Philippines and in each district of the office of the ombudsman so that you could now see the possibility of seeing the members of the jury in, for example, in one province, they would be the ones who would be deciding, not the ombudsman anymore, but them who would be deciding as to whether or not the persons or their mayors or their governors or their congressmen or their board members charged with corruption, they will be the ones who would decide the fate of those politicians who would be charged. So isn't it beautiful? That's why, remember, there are three powers, kinds of powers in the government of any countries in the whole world. The three powers are legislative, which is the power to make laws; the executive, which is the power to execute or to implement the laws; and then the judiciary, which is the power to interpret whenever there are issues as to how the law should be interpreted. So meaning to say, these powers, as it is declared in Section 1 of Article 2 of the Constitution of the Philippines, the Philippines is a republican and democratic state. The sovereignty resides in the people and all government authority emanates from them. So if all authorities or powers emanate from the people, then only the people can say who should be the judge. Only the people can say how a law shall be made. Only the people can say how the law shall be implemented. So in our country, the people exercise their power to execute the laws by electing the president, electing the vice president, electing the mayors, the vice mayors, electing the governors and the vice governors. That's it. So meaning to say, these people that they elect, they are they are becoming representatives of the people who voted for them. Now, how do Filipino people exercise their power to make laws? The Filipino people exercise the power to make law not by themselves but indirectly by means of voting for their congressmen and their senators in the national level. Meaning to say, if we talk about congressmen, they were voted locally, but they would be serving in the national level. And in the case of towns and cities, they would be voting for councilors who would be sponsoring resolutions and ordinances, which are called as local laws. And also, in the same manner with the board members or the members of the board of any province. And in the regional governments, in the case of BARM or Bangsamoro Authorized Region for Muslim Mindanao, the members of the BARM, the the governor and the vice governors are being elected by the people who are residing in the BARM area, Muslims and non-Muslims, because there are many Christians there. And then the lawmakers who are the ministers are also being elected by the people in the BARM. So those are the manners of how the three powers are exercised in anywhere in the world and also in the Philippines. So, but the problem is, my question is, I told you a while ago that the people exercise their power to make laws by electing their president and vice president, mayor and vice mayors, governors and vice governors. They also exercise the power to make laws by electing senators, congressmen, councilors, and board members. My question is, do the people exercise their power to judge? The power to judge belong to the people. And what is that? And how is that? We see there is none. Our judges are appointed. It should be like in the US, elected by the people. And only in the Supreme Court and the justices at the appeals court are the ones being appointed in the US. Maybe we could copy that. The judges on the regional districts and the municipal districts should be elected by the people. And of course, we can now list down the qualifications. One must be a lawyer of how many years in order for him to run to become a judge. And if you are a judge elected by your mandate by the people, then you have nothing to worry about. You cannot, you have now the strength and courage to say no to the mayors, to the vice mayors, to the governors, to the vice governors, and even to the presidents, to the president and the vice president. It is different if your power comes directly from the authors. So we now say, what is the difference between authority and power? Power is a general term for all kinds of powers, but authority is a term called for that power that is being exercised or belonging to the original, to the origin of the power. And there is no other origin of the power but the people. So now, with these dreaded cases of Pastor Quiboloy, we are hoping that this will end and this will be helped with much boost coming from Senator Riza Hontiveros, because a while ago or yesterday she delivered a privileged speech calling for an investigation like what happened in Senor Aguilar's case into the cult of Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, in order for the country to know what are really happening in that place called Barangay Tamayong in Kalinan District in Davao City. So if that is so, then that will be a big help for the Filipinos. And that will also be a big help to boost also the confidence of the people who are looking for justice because of the red tagging that are not founded on truth and because of any kind of lies. And there, the 2 or 3 days of hearings done for that purpose already showed to us that the papers used by Quiboloy for Isiminay are different from the papers that they submitted to the Securities and Exchange Commission. So I do not have to dwell on the details of that. And when it comes down to the compromise, let me just read this note coming from a note coming from Arlene Rocks or Arlene Camino Stone, one of the victims of Apollo Quiboloy. She is now a vlogger and she is residing in, of course, United States of America. So according to her, the lawyers of Quiboloy filed a motion to postpone the hearing set for March 19, 2024. And they asked that to be rescheduled to November 2024. And there is that development that has occurred. And according to Arlene Rocks, the prosecutor agreed to give a lower, to offer a lower imprisonment to Quiboloy in exchange for him to surrender two of the accused, two of his co-accused. And who are his co-accused? Let me just read the name. Actually, the two persons are women. So in exchange for the surrender by Quiboloy of these two women who are co-accused of Pastor Quiboloy, she said that the prosecutors in the United States of America agreed to a lesser length of imprisonment in favor of Quiboloy. So I just don't know how did they do that. So that is now the latest update about Quiboloy. And now I'm hoping that Congress will compel him to appear before the hearing so that there will now be a chance that if Quiboloy would utter falsities during the hearing, he would be also cited for contempt, and then he would also be imprisoned by the congressman. We hope so that at least there's a kind of poetic justice that would happen. By the way, the three women who accused Quiboloy are identified as Minnesota-based Arlene Caminong Stone, Kentucky-based Faith Killion, and Singapore-based Renita Fernandez. Actually, there is still another woman, but who asked for anonymity until now. So there is no name here presented, so that it only gives me an understanding that they are now keeping it in secret. I'm looking for here the names of the persons who are being charged by the NBI. Okay, here are the names. The defendants, the co-defendants of Quiboloy are the following. Number one, Quiboloy himself, who is believed to be 71 years old, whose primary residence is a Kingdom of Jesus Christ compound in Davao City, Philippines, but who also maintained large residences in Calabasas, California, Las Vegas, Nevada, and Kapolei, Hawaii. Teresita Tolivas Dandan. This is the one of the persons that Quiboloy agreed to be who Quiboloy agreed to surrender in exchange for shorter length of imprisonment. I'll upload the website of the Central District of California Federal Grand Jury. So this is the Federal Grand Jury of People. So I will bring you to the top. That is the Office of the Federal Grand Jury. And that grand jury is composed of ordinary people who decided to file a case in court against Quiboloy and so many others. So maybe I could read this. Santa Ana, California, a superseding indictment until today charges the founder of a Philippines-based church and two top administrators of orchestrating a sex trafficking operation that coerced girls and young women to have sex with the church leaders under the threat of eternal damnation. Huh? You see? So see how she fooled women? You will be eternally damned in hell if you will not have sex with the Son of God. That's what he must be saying. So the superseding indictment expands on allegations made early last year against three Los Angeles-based administrators of the church, which is known as the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, the name above every name, KOJC. The nine defendants named in the 42 counts superseding indictment are charged with participating in a labor trafficking scheme that brought church members to the United States via fraudulently obtained visas and forced the members to solicit donations for a bogus charity, the Glendale-based Children's Joy Foundation, donations that actually were used to finance church operations and the lavish lifestyles of its leaders. Members who proved successful at soliciting for the KOJC allegedly were forced to enter into sham marriages or obtain fraudulent student visas to continue soliciting in the United States year round. The superseding indictment, which was returned by a federal grand jury on November 10, expands to the scope of the 2020 indictment by adding six new defendants, including the KOJC's leader, Apollo Carion Quiboloy, who was referred to as the appointed son of God. Three of the new defendants were arrested today by federal authorities. The remaining three, including Quiboloy, are believed to be in the Philippines. The defendants charged in the superseding indictment are Quiboloy, believed to be 71, whose primary residence is a KOJC compound in Davao City, Philippines, but who also maintained large residences in Calabasas, California, Las Vegas, Nevada, and Kapuli, Hawaii. Teresita Tolivas Dandan, also known as Tessie and Sisteng, 59 of Davao City, the international administrator who was one of the top overseers of KAJC and CGF operations in the United States. Helen Panilag, 56 of Davao City, the one-time top KOJC administrator in the US who oversaw the collection of financial data from KOJC operations around the globe. Felina Salinas, also known as Sis Eng Eng, 50 of Kapoli, Hawaii, who allegedly was responsible for collecting and securing passports and other documents from KOJC workers in Hawaii, as well as directing funds solicited to church members to church officials in the Philippines. Arrested. So already arrested. Gia Kabaktulan, 61 of the lead KOJC administrator in the United States who operated the KOJC compound in Van Nuys, charged in original indictment. Marisa Dueñas, 43, a Van Nuys-based administrator who handled fraudulent immigration documents for KOJC workers, arrested today. Marisa, 50, another Van Nuys-based administrator who operated the KOJC compound in Van Nuys, charged in original indictment. Bettina Padilla Roses, also known as Cookie, 48, a fourth administrator who allegedly handled financial matters, arrested today in Reseda. And Maria De Leon, 72, a resident of the Koreatown neighborhood of Los Angeles, the owner of Liberty Legal Document Services, who allegedly processed fraudulent marriages and immigration-related documents for KOJC workers, arrested today at her residence. The three arrested today are expected to make their initial appearances this afternoon in the United States District Court in Los Angeles and Honolulu. The superseding indictment charges Quiboloy, Dandan, and Salinas with participating in a conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion, as well as the sex trafficking of children. These three defendants allegedly recruited females ranging from approximately 12 to 25 years of age to work as personal assistants or pastorals for Quiboloy. The indictment states that the victims prepared Quiboloy's meals, cleaned his residences, gave him gave him the massages, and were required to have sex with Quiboloy in what the pastorals called as night duty. The indictment specifically mentions five female victims, three of whom were minors when the alleged sex trafficking began. Defendant Quiboloy and other QOGC administrators coerced pastorals into performing night duty, that is sex, with defendant Quiboloy under the threat of physical and verbal abuse. and eternal damnation by defendant Quiboloy and other QOJC administrators. The indictment alleges defendant Quiboloy and other QOJC administrators told pastorals that performing night duty was God's will and a privilege, as well as a necessary demonstration of the pastoral's commitment to give her body to the defendant Quiboloy as the appointed son of God. Magpapasex kay Quiboloy kasi appointed son of God daw. The indictment alleges the sex trafficking schemes started not later than 2002, continued to at least 2018, during which time Quiboloy and his top administrators caused the victims to engage in commercial sex acts by ordering female victims, including the minor victims, to have sex with defendant Quiboloy in a schedule determined by the church leader and others, including Dandan. The victims who were obedient were rewarded with good food, luxurious hotel rooms, trips to tourist spots, and yearly cash payments that were based on performance, which were paid for with money solicited by KOJC workers in the United States, according to the indictment. As part of the alleged scheme, the three defendants told female victims who expressed hesitation at night duty that they had the devil in them and risked eternal damnation. Furthermore, Quiboloy would threaten and physically abuse victims who attempted to leave KOJC or were available to perform the night duty. According to the indictment, which also alleges Quiboloy would physically abuse victims for communicating with other men or engaging in other behavior that upset him because he considered such conduct adultery and a sin. Victims who managed to escape KOGC suffered retaliation in the form of threats, harassment, and allegations of criminal misconduct, according to the indictment. Defendant Quiboloy would give sermons broadcast to KOGC members around the world, in which he would allege the victims who escaped had engaged in criminal conduct and sexually promiscuous activity, and therefore forced eternal damnation in order to discourage the other victims from living, retaliate against and discredit the victims, and conceal the sexual activity between defendant Quiboloy and the victims, the indictment states. Quiboloy, Dandan, and Salinas are charged in count one of the superseding indictment, which alleges the sex trafficking conspiracy. Each defendant is charged at least 3 of 5 substantive counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion. The superseding indictment also outlines KOJC's nationwide soliciting operations, which allegedly gave rise to additional criminal conduct, including the forced labor trafficking, document servitude, marriage, fraud, and money laundering. Under Quiboloy's direction, KOJC administrators allegedly brought workers from the Philippines to the United States and confiscated all forms of identification before forcing the workers to spend long hours illegally soliciting money for KOJC outside of businesses across the United States, while KOJC workers told potential donors their money would be used by CGF to help impoverished children. The money was actually used to directly finance KOJC operations and the lavish lifestyle of KOJC leaders, including Quiboloy, according to the indictment. KOJC administrators maintained the legal immigration status of workers who proved capable of meeting daily cash solicitation quotas by fraudulently obtaining student visas for such workers or by forcing them to enter into sham marriages with other KOGC workers who had already obtained United States citizenship, the indictment states. Some of the workers were moved around the United States to solicit donations as CGF volunteers, who were also called full-time miracle workers, according to the indictment, which alleges these workers fundraised for KOGC nearly every day, year-round, working very long hours, and often sleeping in cars overnight. An indictment contains allegations that a defendant has committed a crime. Every defendant is presumed innocent until and unless proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. The sex trafficking conspiracy charge alleged in the indictment carries a statutory maximum penalty of life in federal prison. The 5 substantive Sex trafficking charges each carry a mandatory minimum penalty of 15 years in federal prison and a potential sentence of life. The additional fraud, cash smuggling, and money laundering offenses in the indictment carry statutory maximum penalty ranging from 5 to 20 years in federal prison. As part of the ongoing investigation, the FBI is encouraging potential victims or anyone with information about KUJC activities to contact investigators. Those with information are asked to call the FBI Los Angeles Field Office at 310-477-6565. Individuals may also contact the FBI through its website, www.fbi.gov. So that's it. The ongoing investigation into KOJC is being led by FBI, which is receiving substantial assistance from Homeland Security Investigations, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service Fraud Detection, and National Security Unit, the U.S. Department of State's Diplomatic Security Service, and IRS Criminal Investigation. Assistant United States Attorneys Daniel Itzan, Jake Denari, and Benjamin Lichtman of the Santa Ana Branch Office, along with Special Assistant United States Attorney Angela C. Macabale of the General Crime Section, are prosecuting these cases. Assistant United States Attorney Catherine Bachelor of the Asset Forfeiture Section is also working on the matter. So that's it. You have heard before your eyes. This is the report of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So that with this, I shall now call your names. Aljon Angeles, yes. Muhammad Iqbal, extradite na dapat. According to, with regard to to the act of extraditing, actually, that might have not been employed by the United States government solely because there is that promise by Quiboloy to surrender. And in exchange for a lower imprisonment, he promised the surrender of two persons, Dandan and Palinog. So that during the hearing in November 2024, it will now be determined if there is still no other remedy left for the United States prosecutors, then maybe that's the time that they will ask for extradition of Quiboloy from the Philippines to the United States of America. Ben Spinida, good PM and Jenatoto Kausing, God bless you more. Ramon Eugenio, the downfall of Quiboloy is near, just like Duterte. And now the end is near. And so I face the final curtain. Ramon Eugenio, no? Jose Abingona, Senate should adopt a 100% resolution among themselves for the immediate turnover of Quiboloy to the USA for his various crimes committed in the USA. That should have been done by our Senate and our House of Representatives. But anyway, our House of Representatives is busy dealing with the franchise of SMNI. Hilwa Hiwalyena, stop! Zakora 35, good evening po. Attorney Engineer Toto Kasing for 2025 Senator. Super Mamsi, so Shirley Bautista, magandang gabi po. Super Mamsi, sabi ni NYN09. Please like mga katoto. Okay, sabi ni Super Mamsi. RSB Archangel, those are allegations by people who are against PCQ because they are lambasted of a TV network whose work is inimical to the state. Yes, that was alleged by the Federal Bureau of Investigation that during its mass that Apollo Quiboloy had held in the past, he had always pronounced during his sermons the condemnation or eternal damnation of people who, according to him, wronged him, including the pastorals or the women who escaped from him. So, all walks of life vlogs. Sir Toto, aton ini. Yes, aton ini. Super Mamsi, Max Vlogs. Tapos, all walks of life, Mamsi, GA. So, Girl Laurio, Hilario, Laban Langka, Idol Katoto, Nilda Sumbang, good PM, Atty. Toto. So, Super Mamsi, he's too good to be a Bray Councilor, FYI, Mr. Leo Frino. So, Super Mamsi, good afternoon everyone. In my N09, Yun na nga Sir Toto, halos nababaliwala na yung power of people dahil sa pagiging gahama ng mga politikong trapo. Katulad sa issue ngayon na tumilik. Tama ka, Smartmatic. So, Ferdinand San Juan, magandang hapon po ito ni Toto Housing. Sa Leofrenio Lianisa, po Toto for Barangay. Ay, huwag naman. Huwag naman. Hindi na ako tatakbo barangay councilor kasi tapos ng eleksyon. Kaya naman, Leofrenio, that is a big insult on me. But nevertheless, I will respect your right to say it. I will even defend to death your right to say it against me. Because that is your right. The right to express your anger against me, it's okay. All walks of life, vlogs. Sir Eric, hulata lang bago matapos ang live. Magbasa ng comments si Atty. Toto. Tapos si Eric Cesar Daroy. Sir Tani, mapansin mo sir. Okay, pansin kita, Eric Cesar Daroy. Mayong gabi, mayong hapon pa pala, maaga pa. Sir Toto, ang daming problema ngayon na kinakaharap ni Kibulok. Di gaya ng powers niya. Di kahit sabay-sabay sila babagsak ni Digong Duterte kasi lalapit ng ICC. Eric Cesar Daroy, Sir Tani, napansin ko no? Jose Cabog, good afternoon po. Ito na Engineer Toto Housing for Senator, solid supporter. Thank you, Jose Cabog. Eric Cesar Daroy, Sir, good PM. Pangayo tani kami bulig tungod sa lupa namon kay ginkantuan na kami sang sheriff kay lula ko nga lupa ara man sa iya ang land title kag absolute deed of sale. Taga Nurala kami. Ay, taga Nurala ka mo? Taga sa Cotabato? Okay, I am requesting you, i-email nyo sa akin ang inyong kwento. Ang email ko ay totokausing@yahoo.com. Tapos kunan nyo ng litrato sa cellphone, ang lahat ng dokumentong hawak nyo. Tapos lagay nyo yung telephone number nyo, matawagan ko kayo para mabigyan ko kayo ng magandang advice at para makakuha kayo ng maayos na abogado. Marami naman akong kilalang abogado dyan sa Coronadal at saka sa Norala, Sorala. So, Loltimo, yan po ang mga BFF ni Duterte, Bantag, Quiboloy, Duterte, grabe nga eh. So, tapos LB Jandi, good afternoon. Lultimo ulit, no? Sana po ay matino ganito ang mga blind followers ni Quiboloy. Ngips Mars, a very good on day to you, sir. Our 2025 Senator, Engineer Berteri, Catalonia Cousin, sir. Thank you, Ngips Mars. Lultimo, tapos ginagalaw pa ni Quiboloy. Lostria, I am in favor of the resolution filed by Senator Riza. Yan, para masimulan na malaman na rin ng buong bayan. So, Elno, belated happy birthday. Pero sana aksyonan ng Senate ha. Ang problema ko, my problem now is this. Senator Coco Pimentel already filed a resolution to investigate Smartmatic. But the problem is until today while we speak, Amy Marcos, who is the chairman of the Electoral Reforms Committee in the Senate, has not yet acted upon. And Senator Coco Pimentel even went to the extent of writing again a letter to the chairwoman, Senator Amy Marcos, offering his services to be the chairman of the subcommittee if Amy Marcos would have no more time. But until today, as we speak, there is no word or no development yet. So maybe you must mark your word. Do not vote for Amy Marcos again if she runs. But the problem is, this is her second term. So in the next election, she has no other alternative but to run for other positions. I heard she would be running for mayor in Manila. So, Lostria, I am in favor of resolution. Tapos, Elno, belated happy birthday po. Huwag po kayong mag-alala. At kalbo din po ako. Ayan, from Cortes, Bohol. Pariho di ito ang tagap. Talking of Bohol, maadyong hapon kay Rudy Sali sa Bohol. So, grabe pala ginawa ng mga bata. Okay. Ether Hamoner, panahon na ang pagbabayad ni Quiboloy sa kanyang panluloko. Bobby Maso, good afternoon, Bob. Kumusta ng kaso mo? May dumating naman na desisyon. Jamie Aripagita, good evening, Engineer Toto kasi mabuhay. El Nobilated Ana Bruce, ASAP, ICC. Lynette Malakad, good job and stay safe always, Attorney Engineer Toto. In my end, na 09, good PM, Attorney Engineer Toto, watching from the land of the morning calm. Okay. Korea, KR? Korean Republic. Tapos, Dad, Techmec Channel, good PM, Toto Housing, watching from Batangas. Magandang hapon sa Batangas, no? Ricky Mantili, magandang hapon. Badoy at Eric. Teles, Merry Christmas. Mag-exchange gift na lang si Badoy at saka si Loren Badoy at saka si Eric Silis. Mag-exchange gift na lang sila sa loob ng kulungan. Muhammad Iqbal, good afternoon, engineer, attorney Kausing at mga kabayan. Tapos Lustria, why keep on protecting Quiboloy? Di ba wanted yan sa US because he was indicted? Yan na, pinaliwanag ko na kanina. I already explained it that there is ongoing negotiation actually. So that negotiation has now ripened into Quiboloy surrendering the two women, two suspects, Panagan and the other one, I forgot the name. And in exchange for a shorter term of imprisonment. I, I hope so that the Quiboloy would honor it. So Mike Salazar, maligayang hapon sa toto. So, Ili Marullo, gandang hapon. Engineer Toto, Kausing, watching from Rome, Italy. Ano kaya magandang hapon? Born, Jose Habonete, Attorney Kausing, good day from Riyadh, KSA. I vote Attorney Kausing for Senator. Ingat po, palagi kayo. Bless you sa katotohanan. Nicky Mantili, Kate Dison. So, gandang hapon, Pastor PACQ. No? So, Bueno, Balbieron Corta, Hill Laurio, laban lang, Idol Tuto. Mahubaran na yan, maskara si Kibuloy. Ding natin, magandang hapon. Milandro Jose, Ricky Mantili, Leo Dulnuan, watching from China. Parmasita Narcisa, good PM attorney, watching from Hong Kong. P.U. Eugenio, maayong engineer Tuto kasing kay sa mga katotohanan. Erwin Valera, Joel Gabo, tapos All Walks of Life, Lea Dulnuan, Roberto Carlos, tapos Engineer Toto, Vin Diesel ng Pinas, Emilio Talaugon, Antonio Figueroa, o taga Davao, sa langon na mga pagari, ago pakatakan, ruo sa Maguindanao, Agulanaw, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Let Allah bless us all. So Super Mamshi, lol di balik kalyos ka engineer, kalbs ka engineer Toto. Laman naman ng ulo mo, pure brain. Aljon Angeles, ang sarap pong pakinggan ng mga sinasabi po ninyo. Salamat naman po. Ben Gonzaga, good PM po Sir Toto Kausing. Sana po huwag po kayo magsawang tumulong sa ating mga kapwa Pilipino at patuloy din po ninyo kaming gabayan at turuan sa mga batas at dapat sundin ng mga taong na ating pamahalaan upang hindi pa maabuso ng mga taong sakim at gahaman na kapangyarihan. Kaya patuloy din kaming kasubaybay sa iyong mga programa upang malaman po namin kung ano ang aming mga karapatan. Maraming salamat po. Sige, pwede kayo magbigay sa akin ng mga magtanong na pwede siguro maglaan ako ng isang oras. Pagtanong nyo, sagot ka agad, no? As soon as you answer any kind of law that you want, any kind, okay? Remigio Balondo, isurrender na yan sa FBI. Okay, All Walks of Life, good PM, attorney, background mo, kasi City Hall ng Coronadal. 1989, gabulanti kami bulad sa South Cotabato. Wow! Rafael Lim, happy birthday. Senator Erwin Baityong, good PM. Katoto, si Quiboloy, Damputin na yan. Si Amy, hinarang yung investigation ng Smartmatic. Yun nga eh. Francisco Ocampo, Mangulabnan, PM kita. Okay. Elizabeth Loren, Hanping Quibing, Francisco Ocampo, Mangulabnan, Mike Salazar. Okay, that's all I can say now kasi masyadong mahaba na ang ating vlog. Isang oras na po. Magandang hapon po sa lahat. Good afternoon everybody and any people in the world who would have heard this. I'm saying to you, God bless you all. And to all those who would watch this in replay, this is the blessing that you should consider for the mankind, not only for Filipinos, but for all mankind. And we have just discussed another kind of crime against humanity committed by the pastor named Apollo Carion Quiboloy. Thank you, All Walks of Life, Om Reacts, John Gases, yung dalawang buang na nag-hunger strike, Helen Canong, sir, the masang Filipino can't comprehend at all what you are saying, made content that all of viewers can relate like bad, the current and hottest issues. Okay. So that's it. That's all Ferdinand San Juan. John Cassis. Okay. Sa sunod, ulitin ko ito sa Tagalog.